Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the NBA Coverage. First of all, before we get started, this podcast is brought to you by Final Form Subs. All right, this is the creatine monohydrate, pure 100% creatine monohydrate. We don't have extra stuff in there. It's just pure, so you know exactly what's in it. You know exactly what you're taking. One scoop gets you 5 grams of creatine. You want to aim for about 5 grams a day. And then in this container, it looks small, but there's 50 servings in this one container, guys. So we got all what things you need when it comes to fitness supplements. Go to finalformsubs.com, check out what we got. We also have stuff for just people that aren't into fitness but just need supplemental health. So you got bad joints, we got joint gummies. You're having trouble with sleep, we have sleep gummies. We got hair, skin, and nails. You want to take care of your hair, skin, and nails, etc., etc. Just go to finalformsubs.com. That's SUPPS, finalformsubs.com. Use promo code CoachStrib, all caps, no space. Get 10% off your order. All right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get straight into it. First of all, welcome to, like I said earlier, the NBA Coverage. If you're listening for the first time, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, to the podcast network, Ivy Talks Podcast Network. For those of y'all that are new, I'm going to go over the standings, East and West, going to go over the leaderboards, and then Coach Calvin is going to go into the news, highlights, and things like that in the NBA. And then I also want to mention that we're going to do a separate episode for the All-Star break. So we'll go over the dunk contest, three-point contest, Steph versus Sabrina, the East-West game as a whole. We're going to go over all that, the celebrity game. We got a 30-minute segment that we'll do just for that, and then we'll still have our regular cap. So we figured it'd be easier to just split the two instead of trying to fit all of that into a 30-minute pod. But so let's go straight into it. So we're going to go over the Eastern standings. At number 1, we get the Boston Celtics still holding strong, and they're starting to build a lead like we talked about last week. They are 6 games ahead of number 2. Sitting at number 2 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Then you got the Milwaukee Bucks at 3, Knicks at 4, Sixers at 5, Pacers at 6. Then we have Miami at 7, Orlando Magic at 8, Bulls at 9, Atlanta Hawks at 10, Nets at 11, Raptors at 12, Hornets at 13, Wizards at 14, Pistons at 15. So obviously in the East, it's pretty much more or less the same what we had last week. Not too much movement going on there. In the West, things are starting to solidify in the West in terms of, I know weeks prior we've been talking about how tight that race is between 1 and 4. They're starting to get a little, not much, but there's starting to be a little bit of separation between 1 through 4 in the West. So sitting at number 1, we still have the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves are a game and a half ahead of number 2. Which OKC is sitting at number 2. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about we had a 3-way tie for first, and then second was a half game behind. But now there's starting to be a little bit of separation. But it's still a tight race because number 3, we have the Clippers. They're a half game behind OKC, 2 games behind Minnesota. And then the Denver Nuggets are at 4. They're 3 games behind Minnesota, only a game behind the Clippers. So we're still having a tight race. We can be talking about in 2 weeks a different setup for the top 4 because they're all within 3 games of each other. But then you have some separation between 4 and 5. So the Suns are sitting at 5. The Suns and the Pelicans are at 6. They're both 6 games behind first spot or 3 games behind Denver. So you're starting to see a little bit of separation there for the rest of the West. Then we have the Mavericks at 7, Kings at 8, Lakers at 9, Warriors at 10, Jazz at 11, Rockets at 12, Memphis at 13, Portland Trail Blazers at 14, and the Spurs at 15. Well, real quickly, let's go over some leaders. So point leaders in the NBA, we have Luka Doncic at number 1 with 34.2. We have Sabonis at number 1 for rebounds per game at 13.2. Tyrese Halliburton at 11.7 for assists average per game. And still the main man that hasn't changed at all this year is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 2.2. And, of course, who's been at the top at blocks per game all season, we have Victor Wembanyama. So I'm going to pass it off to my boy, Coach Calvin, to start us off with news and highlights for the NBA.
So, man, what do you think about the West right now, in your opinion? Like, I mean, it's like I said, I mean, and this is how it's been the past, like, I feel like 3 years. Is just we've obviously seen that the West is definitely a very, I don't want to say competitive conference more than the East, but I mean, when you have back-to-back games where, well, I mean, you have games behind, I mean, when it gets to like 1.5, 2.5 and everything. And it's like all the way through like the 1 through, let's see, basically the 1 through 12 and everything. It's going to be interesting just to see what teams can make a push to at least get to that play-in tournament and everything like
Right,
that. So I'm very, very excited to see where that's going to be and everything like that. Um, we've obviously seen the Warriors and Lakers were the two biggest teams, I think, right now that we were just like, what's going to happen with them and everything. And you can kind
right,
of start seeing that push right now. I mean, I think the last time we talked, I think Lakers were like 9th or 10th, Warriors were like 12th or something like that. I mean, and now they're
right.
9 and
We
10. They're back to back right now. They're about 2.5 games back behind each other and everything like that. But I mean, man, it's going to be a dogfight. It's really going to be interesting just to see what transpires. And then, like I said too, the Jazz are not a bad team. I think they can maybe push just with their roster and everything. They maybe can push the Warriors out, but at the same time, we're seeing the Warriors trying to make traction right now and everything. Um, Going to the Eastern Conference, man. This is the big thing that I want to talk to you about. Since Doc Rivers has joined the Bucks, the last 10 games are 3-7.
Yeah.
That's not a good. I don't know what's going on. That's not a good look. Doc Rivers is obviously like he's a great coach, well-known name and everything, but I just hope it doesn't turn out like when he was with the Clippers, with the Sixers and everything like that. Just being so highly ranked and everything like this right now. Hopefully it don't drop too bad. But yeah, man, that's really the only thing that I got for that segment. I do want to talk about this and just have like a very, very good conversation around it. What was your first thought when you heard that Klay Thompson got benched?
Honestly, it didn't surprise me, right?
It didn't
I
surprise
wasn't
me either. But I will
right.
hit the way he responded back surprised me. I will say
What I
that.
didn't see the response. What was the response?
Bro, I think he dropped like 30 something points off the bench.
Okay, so my first initial response was my first one again, I wasn't surprised. My first thought was Steve Kerr is trying to figure out the best combination of five guys to put on the court that's going to get them back to winning basketball, right? So because again, the Warriors haven't been at the like bottom of their conference in a very long time. Now, again, you got to remember prior to this, they're obviously sitting at 10, so they'd go playing. But prior to they were sitting at that 12th, 13th spot. They were sitting in the bottom five for the majority of the season up to this point, right? So Steve Kerr, and then there's always highbrow Clay and the Splash Bros and the core between Draymond, Steph, and Clay drafted and homegrown. So it sounds good to have to have Clay start. It sounds good, but in reality, it's all about who or the five that have the best chemistry, that play the best together, that's going to give us the best chance at winning. And Clay has been somewhat kind of inconsistent with his play. Like, yes, he can get you 30, 40 points for a game, but he's not doing that consistently. He's not dropping. If I let me pull up real quick. Oh, so let me go to so Klay Thompson, he's averaging 17.3 points per game, 30 minutes per game, 2.2 assists, 3.5 rebounds. So we obviously know he's more of a catch shoot guy, right? He's shooting 42% from the field. All right. His 3-point shooting is 37.3, which isn't bad. 37 is not bad, but
For Klay Thompson, that's
right.
not
That's
what we
not what
used to.
that's exactly. He's averaging 0.6 steals, 0.5 blocks. His true shooting is at 56%, which again isn't bad. His usage is 23%. If your usage is 23% and you're shooting the ball 42% from the field, that's tough. It's tough.
It is. It
And
is.
so,
And my
but
thing is, oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
just last thing is the way Clay responded, and I don't know if this was Steve Kerr trying to get something out of Clay or just truly trying to figure out the best five. But if if that's what he was trying to do to get that out of Clay, we need that consistently is the problem. If you get that from Clay, and we all know Steph is doing his thing this season, the Warriors are going to be in positions to win the game. If you have Clay playing like that, Steph playing like he does, and the rest of their team gelling together, then, the Warriors can make a run to maybe get that sixth spot and not have to go through the play-in. But it's, halfway through the season, and Clay's going to have to play more like that day in and day out, night in and night out. So, yeah.
I agree with you on that, man. And that's the thing that I want to talk to you about too, especially from Steve Kerr. Like, I thought it was more of a thing like, all right, let me bench him. Maybe that'll light a little fire under him and everything to come off the bench and just start gunning, which it did. But at the same time, it's like, is that what you're going to have to do to get 25 points out of him, 30 points and everything? Is that what you're going to have to do right now? Or is he just going to snap back into the old Klay Thompson? And obviously, I don't think, and I hate to say this, but I don't, ever since that injury he had, I don't think he's the same. Because you got to think about it as an ankle injury. He at one point he was I think he was like one of the top three like two-way defenders in the league at that point. Now he really doesn't have that now because it's hard to slide your feet and everything off of coming back from that injury and everything. I just don't know, man. I just don't think he's the same player, but I still think he's still valuable to the team and everything. I just don't know what that's going to look like for the rest of the season, man. I don't know if they're going to put him back in the starting lineup because he did show out, or if they're going to like keep him on the bench. And if he shows consistency, then they'll bring him back into the lineup. Yeah, man, it's a toss up right now. I don't really know with that one, but yeah.
I do have something's interesting now, because I do remember news came out that Clay said he'd be willing to take a lesser role to stay on the team and to help the team win, because obviously he wants to stay with the Warriors. He wants to be at the Warriors his whole career. He wants to retire a Warrior, right? Mm-hmm. And that news report came out that he would be willing to take a lesser role. So my thing is, one, on the surface, in my opinion, as a coach, I shouldn't have to bench you to get that from you. That's the problem. Now, again,
you're Clay, like, dude, it's kind of like you want to like slap him, not slap him in the face, but like bring him in and be like, "Do you know who the fuck you are? You are Klay Thompson."
Right. Exactly. But there's this, that, and then obviously I get some people you got to do. Maybe you bench them once, they light that fire, and then you put them back, and then they're they just needed that one thing. But if I got to keep doing that, that's a problem. Now, here's what's interesting. Let's say to because as you get older, your game might change or things might change in terms of just chemistry. We're talking chemistry. A lot of this stuff with the Warriors, and a lot of it when you go to the professional level, especially in basketball, a lot of it's just chemistry. Clay might be a better individual basketball player than somebody that starts over him, but it's all about fitting what the team needs chemistry-wise. So I think potentially if Clay is on the bench and he plays like this consistently coming off the bench, that might be what his role turns into. And, okay, you're not going to start. You're still going to play 25, 30 minutes, but we're going to need 20, 25 from you coming off the bench so you can be that guy when Steph sits, or when our the majority of the main unit sits. We still got a guy that can either extend a lead or chip away at a deficit. You don't have to completely sacrifice your scoring just because you're trying to give your starters a rest. So I can see him becoming almost kind of like how almost coming like a Westbrook type of guy, where Westbrook has been so pivotal for the Clippers' success coming off the bench. Like he's almost revitalized his career coming off the bench, because that's just how he fits that system best. Because when he comes off the bench, he can play like Westbrook. When he was with the Lakers, he was still a dominant basketball player, but it just didn't fit with that team. But the way it works with the Clippers, when he comes in, they say he can be him. He can play like him. So that might be where the Warriors are transitioning with Clay, I can still see him being like a very, very important piece coming off the bench.
And like you said, man, I think it comes down to just the team and the chemistry. Like, I mean, Russell coming off the bench and he knows that he has PG and Kawhi on the wing and everything. I mean, you feel comfortable, you feel safe. You're like, okay, like, we can jump passes and everything like that in the passing lane. If I miss it, I know PG's right behind to switch off and I can go get his man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where I just don't know if the Warriors really have that. Um, so like I said, man, it'll be interesting to see how that kind of transpires. I mean, I hopefully Clay like keeps up the good job, but I mean, and you got to think about it too. The Warriors, they're in crunch time right now, man. They're 10th. So it's kind of like, what do we do? Do we just keep him on the bench and let the guy from, I forgot his name. He's a rookie. He's from Santa Clara. Do we keep him starting and everything? Or what do we do? Because if they don't perform this year, if they don't at least get into the play-in tournament, there's going to be, I feel like, some drastic new moves coming if they don't get into it.
Right.
So, and I feel like people on the chopping block, Clay, Draymond for sure, Kaminga, Andrew Wiggins, like, I mean, if they don't show out this year or get in the play-in tournament, I feel like it's a done deal. Like, everybody on the team except Steph is up for trades.
Yeah, which they said that during the trade, before the trade deadline. So yeah, I can
Yeah.
definitely see that happening postseason for sure. But yeah, we'll see. Time will tell. We'll see how it goes because I mean the Warriors, the games I'm able to watch, they're playing better. But it's all about the NBA 82 games. That's a lot of games.
I think, dude, and the thing too, I gotta say, I think teams are starting to really figure them out now. Ever since KD left and all that, I feel like teams really are starting to pick up on like their gameplay and everything, which the Warriors they're gonna have to do something. They have like more decoys, more different plays, more
Mm.
strategies. Like I don't know, man, because like you said right now, I mean, they're not a big team at all. So like shooting threes and everything, they live and die by that. And if you aren't hitting threes, that deficit, how much are they ever down by is going to keep on growing and growing. Um, and I'm still surprised that they didn't make any moves during the trade deadline to get somebody in. Because I mean, if you look at their lineup right now, I mean, it feels like if they did get into a play-in tournament, I just feel they're going to struggle really, really bad in the post area, getting rebounds and everything like that. I mean, who is it? Draymond's their center. Who else is their backup? I can't even think who their backup is. Um, and we
I
all
can
know
look.
Draymond's not. He's not gonna get every rebound unless he's fouling or punching somebody in the face.
They have Looney. I don't know if he's the actual backup. It might be Saric Dario.
Man, and let's go into this real quick, man. From the center
Kaminga.
spot, if we're looking in the West, okay, you got Cat and Rudy Gobert for the Timberwolves. Cat, he's a stretch 4 or 5. Rudy Gobert, defensive lockdown center. You got Chet. Then you
Right.
got who's the Clippers? I can't think of the Clippers big man.
Oh,
Oh,
it's
is
like
it Zubac?
yeah.
Zubac,
Zubac.
great fucking center. He does his role. You got Jokic, man. I mean, come on. You got the Suns. Who's the Suns?
Nurkic.
I mean, you go down to the Mavericks. You got Dwight Powell. You got what's his name? Oh,
For which team?
for the Mavericks. I mean, if you go down and look at the whole Western Conference and just look up their centers, it's like the Warriors are going to struggle.
Lively.
Yeah, I forgot his name. Then you got Sabonis and everything. You got, Anthony Davis with the Lakers. You got Laurie Markovich or whatever his name is from the Jazz. I mean, these are centers that are stretch 4, stretch 5 centers and everything that can space the floor. Like you get Kevin Looney out on the 3-point line, that's a mismatch, blown past him. So
Yeah.
it's like, what? You see what I'm saying, bro? It's just like
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a problem.
Yeah, it is. It really is. But Only time will tell, my friend.
What team do you think from the East and the West? Who is your I don't want to say dark horse because the playoffs haven't started. What team do you think has the most? Give me your one team from the East, one team from the West. You think has the most potential to make a run here in the second half of the season? They might not make that run, but who do you think has the potential pieces to make a run here, whether they're out of the play-in, moving up in the play-in, or if they're in the play-in, moving up into the top six, or even if it's a team in the top three that's just going to make a run to solidify their spot. What team you think? What two teams, East and West, you think has the most potential to make a run?
I got two for the Eastern. I got the Cavs and I got the Knicks, and I don't know which one is going to be. Once um Randall
Randall,
comes back, I think we'll get a better picture and everything. But bro, I've said this the past three podcasts. OG joining that team, bro, is the best thing that has happened. I really believe that. The Cavs just got Darius back and everything, and they were playing really, really good without Darius too. So
right,
if he comes back into the lineup and just adds a little bit more, I mean, that's a deadly team as well. So I really don't know between those two teams, but those are my two for the Eastern. Western. Man, I really want to say the Thunder, even though they're number two right now. I feel like they have compared to every other team, they're the youngest team. So I feel like a lot of people are thinking that with the maturity level and everything, they're going to get bounced out quick. I don't think that necessarily. I feel like SGA, like Jalen Williams, Chet, all those guys, like they're like the main key points. I think they know what they're against and everything, and I feel like they're going to handle it pretty well. Um, I mean, they're a young team too, as well, man.
right.
So I think I got them. I do want to say the Kings too, as well, but I feel like here soon, man. I feel like the Lakers or either the Lakers or Warriors, they're gonna get past them and everything once it gets to a little bit later on into the season, as far as like, games that they have to win and everything like that.
Right.
So yeah, man, the Thunder, I think they can do something very, very deadly. Um, that's really all I got, to be honest, for that. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, the West is just a toss-up right now. But I will say one thing. I'll say an honorable one. If the Clippers keep on playing like the way they are, that is a very, very scary team. Very, very scary team. PG, Kawhi. You got two of the best two-way defenders in your starting lineup.
And yeah,
I mean,
and then who? Wait, you said PG and Kawhi? Yeah, and then also, you know, I think in my opinion, PJ Tucker is probably one of the best two-way defenders to not make all-team defense or win a defensive player. Like if you really watch his game, he applies that pressure on defense.
exactly. And then
Yeah,
he's in the corners just waiting for the ball. And as soon as it
yeah,
touches him,
yeah.
it's going up. It's going up. So I
Yeah,
mean, man, like a heavy defensively team, and then where you can turn it around on a fast break and get an easy bucket from West, PG, Kawhi, PJ Tucker, Trey Mans. Like we can't forget about him. He's been playing hella good here
yeah.
lately. Like,
And Westbrook off the bench, two-way player in the perimeter.
I mean, man, like it's actually let's go to their lineup right now. I'm
Let's see.
let's see. They got Brandon Boston. Well, I mean, he's not really a vital point or anything like that. I mean, they got Bones Highland from the trade and everything. Great point guard. Uh,
Norman Powell.
yeah, you got Norman Powell, a vet right there. You got Zubac, that's the starter, and then you have a well-seasoned vet, Mason Plumlee, coming in and doing
Mm-hmm.
his job, just doing his job, just rebounding, protecting the paint, and everything like that. I mean, man, this is a hell of a team right here, man. You got
Yeah,
Daniel Theus or whatever his name is. He can play the 4 or 5 spot. I mean,
he's a solid rim protector. I know he's been injured, but when he's out there, obviously he's a solid rim protector. You have him out there for defensive presence. For me, I was gonna say, the teams I'm looking at that I'm gonna pay close attention to this second half of the season was the Clippers from the West and the Knicks from the East. Like we mentioned, I'm curious to see how this Knicks team plays when they get Julius Randle back. Jalen Brunson's going crazy. You got Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle both made the All-Star team, right? And obviously, Julius is injured, but he still made the All-Stars team selection. So you got two guys in two All-Stars in your team. Then you add the what's his name again? I keep forgetting his name that they just got that they traded your
OG
boy.
Anunoby.
Yeah, OG. They get OG. Then who else? They just picked up somebody in the trades. My gosh, who was it? Bogdanovich. They just picked up. Remember, they just picked up Bogdanovich.
3-point specialist, bro.
He's averaging over 20 points per game, and he's shooting over 40% from the three. You adding that, so that's the team I'm looking at when Julius Randle comes back. You have all of that going on, and they're playing like their fourth seed. They're playing well. They're still playing well, so the chemistry we know is there. So you put Julius Randle back in. I'm curious to watch them. I'm curious to watch the Clippers because they are clicking and they're figuring it out. Once they fine tune some things, those are the two teams I'm watching this second half of the season. Yeah.
For sure.
That's all I had.
That's all I got too, man. I'm not really too worried about the East and everything because I feel like that right there with the standings, there may be a little bit of change, but the West gonna be a dogfight, my guy.
Yeah, the East, I think the past few podcasts, the East have been almost the same, besides maybe a couple spots, but they've been almost the same for like the past 3 weeks. So, but yeah, that's all you had. Then we can wrap this bad boy up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching the NBA coverage. Again, stay tuned. We're going to do a recap of the 2024 All-Star. That episode is probably going to come out midway through the week, so maybe like a Wednesday. We're recording on Tuesday, so it'll probably come out Wednesday, and then we'll have our normal cap of the week on our normal time, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll give you a bonus episode of just the All-Star break. So we'll go over all the cool things, and the game's actually about to come on right now, so perfect timing. But this has been your Coach Strib with my boy, Coach Calvin. We'll catch you guys next week. Ball is life.
I'm gonna chase my dreams, my